I just swallowed a fly. Yeah. That's your intro right there. Hello there, folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video. And welcome to this beautiful trail we are on. We are on our way to a place known as the Devil's Glen Waterfall. And Orla and I have visited here many years ago. Actually, now it's been a good while since we've been here. And I'm thrilled to be back and sharing this place with you. And two things. It would very much seem that autumn is happening very rapidly. There's already some leaves on the ground, so we're hoping we can take advantage of that down at the waterfall itself. But for now, we are up on this beautiful, beautiful trail, and we are heading down into this valley. Now, the Devil's Glen, you may be thinking, why is it called the Devil's Glen? The devil was annoyed one day, and he was like, yeah, there's some big mountains. And then the nuns that lived in the area were like, all right, Devil's Glen, there you go. I'm pretty sure that's like accurate historical fact right there for you folks. But this trail is absolutely gorgeous, and there are some wonderful art installations that were put up along this trail that we'll overlay as we walk through this trail, and it's really there. It's really, really lovely. This whole area is just so beautiful. We are still in Wicklow, like last week's video when we were at that beautiful waterfall. We kept the theme running this week. So let's continue along the trail and let's keep going. So folks, we have made it. This is the Devil's Glen Waterfall, and it is wonderful. Now, I had a bit of a scramble to come up and over to where I'm standing. Well, we might be able to try and get close to the waterfall to try and get like just a very kind of even shot of the waterfall. Like last week's waterfall video, we can use all of these wonderful little cascades that are flowing down to our advantage. That's what we're going to do. We are going to grab the camera, not worry about any tripod just yet, and we're going to just have a bit of an explore around. Now, thankfully, the rocks aren't too slippy, so we can maneuver ourselves a bit. So I'm going to drop the bag and grab the camera. So let's get doing. So I'm really happy with this first shot that I have lined up here, and I'll pop it up on the screen for you and walk you through it. Classic ASMR photography lab style now in just a moment. One thing that I want to say, though, is that you need to be very, very mindful in relation to hotspots when photographing like this. Because even though the sun isn't out, you're trying to, have a longish exposure that you want to, make the water look all soft and lovely. You really do need to be very mindful of hotspots, particularly where the water kind of crests or like hits a rock where it kind of like compacts on top of itself. It can tend to get quite bright there. So you've just got to be mindful. I've taken a couple of different shots at different exposures, just so I have the option then to be able to mask in. But for now, I think like last week's waterfall video, I'm most likely going to be taking off my shoes and socks because I really feel the better compositions are going to be me standing in water, which is awesome fun. So let's have another little wander around and see about exploring more compositions. But anyway, here's this particular image now for you.
Welcome friends to the ASMR photography studio, and welcome to the Devil's Glen and this beautiful, beautiful waterfall hidden deep within the valley. It's not really that deep inside the valley, it's only maybe about a 40-minute walk, which is grand. But this image I really, really love. As far as first test shots go, this one is a wonderful example of how capturing the overall scene helps then focus you throughout your shoot to find different compositions and help you discover new areas of interest to photograph next. I really love the way the cascade in the back hits those rocks, creating this ethereal veil as it spreads out over its journey to the pools below. What a wonderful, wonderful start to the day, and a smashing location to find ourselves in.
this next shot that I have clambered my way over these mighty boulders to get to is really, really nice. Again, it's just a very simple composition, a bit of an easy composition, but you know, we're here to take some photographs, so easy the better. I'm really just delaying the fact that I have to take off my shoes and socks to get the better compositions. But I'm super duper happy with this. It's, like I say, very easy. But one thing that you want to bear in mind when visiting a location like this are these rocks. They are mighty. Now, thankfully, they're not slippy. And because if they were, you could just forget about clambering around. So just to bear that in mind, always be extra mindful about where you're putting your feet when you're walking around these kind of areas, because I know we're all very tempted to get the nice photographs, and but yeah, I get it. Just be super safe. But anyways, I will stop rambling. Health and safety, and I will pop up this image for you now and walk you through it then.
One thing I really love about this particular image, like the previous one I mentioned, that the waterfall itself hits that rock below and creates this ethereal veil. I really tried to lean into that a bit more, as I found it to be quite aesthetically pleasing. But this image to me has a beautiful line all the way from the bottom right edge up to the tiniest little cascade, and then of course the one in the background. What a beautiful, beautiful location to explore, but always to be mindful of your footing, as I mentioned, because it's very important. It's a good example also as well to play around with different kinds of shutter speeds when photographing waterfalls and cascades like this. Too fast and you freeze it, too much, too long, and it just becomes a white washy kind of streak. And that's one thing that I try to avoid as best that I could. Finding the balance between, 1 second and half a second is always an optimal place to start, and then you can go shorter or longer from either side of that. And that's exactly what I did. This was shot half a second or so, just using the polarizer. A wonderful result.
So what I really, really want to take advantage of is, if you can see here in the foreground, is this cascade that's coming down, and then hopefully with the waterfall in the background. So it's time my shoes and socks came off, and I'm going to get in here and I'm going to play around and see if I can find any kind of meaningful compositions that can potentially use this as our foreground to ultimately bring us to the waterfall in the back. So let's get ourselves in there, and hopefully it's not so too cold. Where's the bottom of the pool? Ah. Oh wow, that's deep. That's deep. So, the wonderful thing about tripods is you can create these mad sculptures. It was the only way, because the side of the rock down here underneath the water is just way too slippy, and it's quite deep here, and I needed to be high so I could see the crashing of the waterfall in the background. So I've created Frankenstein's monster, but it is really wonderful. I'm super duper happy with this image that I'm getting here now. Again, it's just big emphasis on this cascade that's closest to us, and then the waterfall in the background as well. So I'll stop my ramble and I'll pop it up on the screen for you if it all worked out now.
I really love the way this image turned out, really emphasizing that foreground and then leading us into that wonderful cascade in the background. It's always such a fun time taking your shoes and socks off and getting nice and wet, because what it does is it allows you to be able to get closer to your main subject, in this instance of course, to be able to emphasize it as heavily as I did, and then find a nice height to still be able to see the waterfall in the background. So when in doubt, take off your shoes and socks and just jump right in. You will be absolutely delighted with the results.
Nowhere else really for me to go. I definitely don't remember going over that side last time. I don't think I did. Yeah. I came over, I took a chance and crossed over onto this big rock here. And it wasn't worth it. I thought there was going to be more cascades over here that I could use as a foreground, but ultimately it just led me to the same shot that I pretty much took earlier on. But as I was tentatively making my way back across, I just looked down because I needed to know where I was going to put my foot. And there are some wonderful opportunities for just some nice kind of abstracty kind of shots. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So if any of them work out, I'll pop them up on the screen for you and we'll have a look now.
So here's the result of simply just looking down over the water as it passes through the whole frame. A simple, easy composition and a wonderful example of, like I mentioned earlier, how shutter speeds affect the overall aesthetic to the frame. I am really glad that I set myself up and I basically sat down to take this photograph, because it's such a nice, clean and easy frame, and one that could be very nice printed, just because it's got that kind of could be anywhere kind of vibe. Really love how this one turned out. So for this particular image, I was actually all the way back to the kind of end of the trail, and I had put on my 100 to 400 because I wanted to try and punch in and create a bit of compression. And one thing that I really delighted with how this particular frame turned out was just that it gives a nice kind of funneling effect through the frame. It also adds a nice sense of grandeur to the cascades, and as you know now, having seen all of the previous images, the cascade itself it's not the biggest cascade in the world, but when you are further away, you're able to fill a lot more of the frame when you're punched all the way in. It's one thing that I'm super duper happy with how this one turned out.
So folks, I am thrilled with how this evening went. What a wonderful place. And you know, it really, like, it kind of saddens me a bit that when I first started to visit these kinds of areas to take photographs, that I wasn't making YouTube videos. But on the flip side of that, I'm super happy that I make these videos now, that I'm able to share all of these absolutely wonderful locations with you, because I love this kind of thing. It's so beautiful, and particularly getting in with your bare feet just like is the cherry on top for me. I really love it. Anyways, I am going to leave it here. I'll try my best to keep this outro short and sweet. You'll find links to all sorts of fun stuff in the description, so please check those out. If you'd like the video, please do hit that like button, because it really does help out. And of course, if you want to follow along with more of our Irish adventures, you're most welcome to hit that subscribe button. And until then, take it easy, everybody. Cheers.